In this lesson, we're going to be talking about Android services. Services are really exciting to me because I have a background in Windows Mobile. And Windows Mobile didn't really have this concept. If you've ever worked with Windows Desktop or even Windows Web, you can create a desktop service that runs in background and does background tasks. Windows Mobile didn't really have this concept. So if I wanted to create an application that was intent on monitoring network data or attempting to monitor emails for when they came in, I had to actually write my own background threading completely manually and then write all the monitoring of that thread or send events off of that thread to my main UI thread. And it was really difficult to do. And in general, the operating system just wasn't designed for that sort of thing. So the lifetime of the background service was a little bit difficult to control. Android has an entire app element for services. So let's take a look at what they can do for us. Services perform tasks in background. So essentially, I can create a service that runs without any UI at all, and it just runs and continuously loops in its own threading space and runs in background to accomplish some sort of tasks, whether that be a monitoring task or a messaging task or whatever. They run in their own life cycles, so they continue to operate even after the caller, whatever activity may have created the service, exits. So if a user runs an application that starts a background service, that background service can continue to run even after the user has stopped the application. So if they restart the application, the service still exists and the application can still contact that service. It doesn't have to restart it, and nothing's lost if there was anything that came in between those activity lifespans. The service can run locally in the same process as the activity caller, or it can run as a separate process, which is really the preferred thing to do. There are two primary kinds of services. The first is probably the more familiar, which is called a started service. And basically it performs any kind of long-running task that doesn't require any interaction with a caller, other than the initial request that the task be performed. So my initial activity may call for my network monitoring service to start, and then it's up to the service to perform its tasks. An example of this would be a service that downloads some information in the background, for instance, off of the network or off of some other device interface. And then that service would send events out to indicate that data had been accepted. These are called started services because they actually have to initially be started by some sort of activity. The second type of service is a bound service. A bound service allows other components to bind to it, and that allows inter-process communication. So we're going to, in the future, take a look at GPS and location services. This is an example of a bound service. The GPS location service is running in background, and it provides that GPS information to us. It allows other processes to bind to it. The bound service will be destroyed once all of its clients unbind, unless the service was also a started service. So you can actually be both a started service and a bound service. This is really a kind of a powerful idea because what it allows an application do is to provide a service that allows clients to bind to it and to hook events that that service provides. So in the GPS example, it allows all sorts of different activities to bind to it and say, I would like location information. And the service can understand whether clients are bound to it or not. And if there are no clients bound to it, it doesn't require the cycles to run. But if there are clients bound to it, it will be there and it will provide that interface. And it allows the different activities and different applications to communicate information pretty seamlessly. A service lifecycle is pretty straightforward. There is an onCreate event that happens when the service is first started. There's an onStart command, which is called anytime the service is started, either by a call to start service or a restart by the system. And this can begin any long-running task. Then there's the onDestroy event, and that's going to be after a call to stop self or stop service. So that's the basics behind services. We'll next be taking a look at content providers.